if you can't tell, I love me some sci-fi. Some of the earliest memories I have are of Star Wars. Whether that's watching the 5th movie.
And how you doing, Chewbacca? You still hanging around with this loser?
Or playing Star Wars Battlefront. I love Star Wars. However, removing my nostalgia goggles, I wouldn't say that Star Wars is my favorite piece of sci-fi media. Star Wars is very flashy and looks really good, but the writing can be a bit bland, a bit boring. If you want to see what is, in my own personal opinion, one of the best sci-fi media, experience the Subnautica series. Consider this a dissertation on why the series as a whole stands out to me, a comprehensive review of my personal experiences with the series, and what in general just makes the series unique. If you don't want spoilers, I would stop here, as I am gonna go into some pretty hard spoilers for the plot and story. The year is 2018. I was scrolling through my subscription box on YouTube when I discovered this.
Top of the morning, ladies. My name is Jacksepticeye, and welcome back to Subnautica. But not only any Subnautica, this is the full release of Subnautica. It has finally left early access.
Like many others, YouTubers who played the game were my gateway into Subnautica. Since buying the game shortly after I got a machine that could run it, I have managed to clock over 162 hours in this game. For context, as far as I'm aware, that makes Subnautica one of the most played games I have on record. Only really being beaten out by Animal Crossing. And maybe Legend of Zelda. You work for what I like to describe as something in between a government and a company, which is called a trans-government. The trans-government you work for is called Altera. You are the lone survivor of a starship named Aurora, which
suffered orbital hull failure, cause unknown,
and crash lands on a water-based planet called 4546b. From here, it is not only up to you to survive, but also get off the planet. Oh, did I forget to mention? Everything on this fucking planet hates you. I break the reasons I love Subnautica down into 3 basic categories. In no real particular order, they are 90% of the exploration you do is in submarines and a mech. Early game though, you don't have access to a submarine, or even the mech suit. You are basically just incredibly vulnerable to all of the fishes, which there are a lot of them. The submarines themselves, however, scale perfectly. The first submarine you get is a little lad here called a Seamoth. This one is called Beedrill. It's the fastest and most reliable form of travel, but you still feel pretty vulnerable, as running into anything with this will damage it. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the Cyclops. I call this one Whalelord. The Whalelord here is a 54-meter long behemoth of a chonker that can only really be damaged by a few select asshats. You feel immensely safe in this thing. It is essentially a mobile base, with me being able to build things such as a bed and a full-ass tree. The mech suit is called a prod suit, and this one is named Krabby. Can you tell I really want to play the Diamond and Pearl remakes? Krabby is essential late game, as it can go the deepest of the 3 at 1,700 meters. It can also drill minerals with its drill arm. I would say that the gameplay of Subnautica is 50% exploration and 50% crafting. Both of these aspects are good, although I prefer the exploration. The crafting is a good mechanic, with materials spread out all over the map, so exploration is required. This, however, can lead to a problem of a lot of the game feeling like it's just a bunch of grinding. The early parts of the game especially really just feel like Grab Titanium, the simulator, due to how many things throughout the game as a whole require it. I would definitely describe the crafting mechanic as a flawed mechanic, but that's kind of just a minor nitpick that what I'm about to tell you next justifies. What makes the story so interesting is that it's not really afraid to wow or astonish you. Remember how I said you crashed because of
orbital hull failure.
Well, that's not true. A more accurate description of what happened is Now you're probably wondering, why was I shot down? Well, you find the gun because a ship called the Sunbeam that's on its way to save you is going to land right where the gun is. You have to stand there and watch the Sunbeam attempt to land, knowing that the ship will get destroyed because even if you try to disable the gun, according to the quarantine enforcement platform itself,
The control panel is broadcasting a message. Translation reads, "Warning, infected individuals may not disable the weapon. This planet is under quarantine."
the aliens here, called the Architects, are all dead due to the aforementioned lupus outbreak. That's why they came to 4546b in the first place. The cure is an enzyme produced by a rare fish called the Emperor Leviathan that only exists on 4546b. Only one now exists because in an attempt to develop the cure, the disease gets out and kills most life on the planet. The specimen that is alive lives in its holding cell 1,200 meters below the surface, which is essentially just underwater hell. There is fire, there is brimstone, there is a literal fire-breathing pit fiend, more on him in a minute. There is this moment that I will never forget, and it's when you first meet the Emperor.
Are you here to play? The others came but played alone. They bored me. Now they're gone, and instead, I have you.
I forgot to mention, big old gigantic fish lady can talk to you, and has been talking to you since the beginning of the game.
What are you?
This moves us into our final topic, the Three Horsemen of Subnautica. This is the cuttlefish. It is your friend and you love it with all your heart. Just look at it. It does tricks and is a good little fish. This thing's only purpose is in its given name, Reaper. It exists solely to fuck people over. I'm sure you've heard of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Well, say hello to the Four Horsemen of Subnautica. Although there's only 3 of them, I don't know why I've written 4 on the script. That is the Reaper Leviathan. It is the length of a Cyclops, and is described in words only as almost all muscle, very little brain, no sense of morality, just muscles, synapses, and teeth. Its bite does 80 damage out of your 100. It can not only hurt the player, but it also can I hear you saying, well, that's fine, I'll just be safe and sound inside my Cyclops, no problem. Yeah, there are only 20 of these boys, and they only spawn in 4 biomes. You pretty much just learn where they are and avoid them, because man, they are a working hazard.
He's a phantom.
This translucent boy is the Ghost Leviathan. It is bigger than the Reaper at 67 meters long. This thing can't grab your submarines, but due to its attack strategy, can knock them around and do damage. Not as much damage as the Reaper, but still 55 damage is a big boy when you only have 100. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, this is our pit fiend himself, the Sea Dragon Leviathan. This Tyrannosaurus Rex sounding motherfucker, as you've already seen, can spew molten materials and expel them out of its mouth. It does this by essentially eating molten rock and then just vomiting it. This thing is on another level than the Reaper Leviathan, mainly because this is the fish that eats them. And this thing doesn't even live anywhere near them. If you are unprotected, its bite is an instant kill. It will also play pinball with your submarines, knocking them around all over the place using its massive arms. Even the Cyclops is not safe from this. It will still be battered around like a ping pong ball. I love this game. It's far from perfect, but all those little blemishes are a part of the game. It is definitely not for everyone. If you don't like sci-fi or if you hate resource gathering in video games, I get it. Probably don't play this game. For me though, it's a beautiful mix of survival and science fiction, while also being one of the most unique horror experiences I've ever had.